I will find you. You're not getting away.
It's okay to be scared, Teddy, but we have to be quiet or they will find us.
Okay, within the last week, Roger and myself have finished a game. And it's called, what's it called, Rog?
Oh, don't make me look again. Oh, my God. Out of Sight VR, honestly, my memory these days is absolutely terrible. It's really, really bad. I forget names of stuff all the time. So
well, usually I say the wrong name, don't I, for a game, and I have to look to see what it was. Even when I typed it, I was typing in Discord, speaking to Gary earlier on, and I actually typed the Out of Sight, and I thought, is it called that? And I had to Google it to have a look to see if it was. But yeah, we've played a game, and here is our thoughts on it so far. Well, it's early access, right, Rog?
Yeah. So this is the thing, isn't it? It's early access. They're still doing things. It's still working on it. I played through it, I think, a few days before it launched on Steam in early access. I think you played it after it got launched and maybe after a patch came out.
Yeah, there was one patch that addressed a few issues, I think. Oh, I finished it this morning. That's when I finished it.
Yeah. So basically, this is a horror puzzle stealth game, or that's what it's sort of being pitched as.
Well, I'd say kind of inverted commas horror. It's not really horror. A Little Nightmares horror type thing.
Yes, I've been thinking about this. I was going to describe it as cozy horror, but I'm not entirely sure that a game where you control a young girl who's had her eyes ripped out of her head. I don't think you can call that. I don't think you can call that a cozy horror game, can you? Really, you know?
No, not really. I mean, you don't really know what's going on to start with, because I didn't know what happened. I just thought, she's got a bandage around her eyes, hasn't she? And she uses this teddy bear as her eyes to see, which is kind of unique. I've not heard of that before.
Yeah. So basically, it starts out, and you're looking at the young girl, Sophie, I think her name is, and she's lying on a bed, and you're looking through the eyes of a teddy bear, and she starts talking, and it quickly becomes apparent that she can't see. But she suddenly realises she can see through the eyes of the teddy bear that sat near to her, which is, slightly bizarre. You do have to sort of just buy into a few things in this game, don't you? Because there are sort of paranormal, sort of supernatural elements to it, which never really get explained. Well, not never really get explained, they don't get explained. There's a little sort of like spirity...
I think I've got an idea of what they are, but we can talk about that later if we remember.
Yeah, I sort of get where they've probably come from, but it doesn't delve into it, does it? And I think this is one of the things about this game. It leaves a few things unanswered for me. So to start out with, primarily it's a puzzle game, I'd say. It's a first-person and third-person game.
Or is it classed as second-person? Because you're looking through the eyes of something looking at somebody else, so it's not as if you're behind them.
Somebody called this a second-person game, but there isn't such a thing as second-person. Or at least, I remember watching a video once where somebody was trying to describe what a second-person game would be. But so, I don't know. I've never understood why it's just called third-person, not second. Anyway, basically, while you're looking through the eyes of the bear, if you're just sat on a stool or on a chair, or you've been placed up on a shelf or something, you're looking out onto the scene in a third sort of person view, and you can control her and move her around, move boxes around to climb up onto, knock things over to create platforms, that sort of thing. And that's a majority of what you'll be doing. It gets a little bit more complicated, but it's mainly about manipulating the sort of scene you're in able to progress, find your way out of that room or whatever into the next corridor, into the next room, and to try and escape this. I've seen it called an orphanage. I called it a mansion. I don't know if it is actually referred to as an orphanage or not in the game. I've seen a few reviews call it an orphanage. If it is, I missed that. But it's a big mansion house anyway, a huge mansion house. It becomes obvious that Sophie's not the first young girl who's been there before as you start traversing through these rooms. But yes, using a newfound ability to be able to see through a teddy bear, you're basically trying to escape. It keeps getting sort of classed as a horror game, and I think this is where we agree, isn't it? I thought you might call it a horror game more than I did, because I have a hard time judging horror games. If something is an Alien Isolation to me, then to me it's not a horror game. Everything else is a bit tame. What I would say is, if normally you don't like horror games, but you want to try and get into horror games, this might be a good entry point. because it's not something what sits there and then suddenly tries to throw jump scare after jump scare and horrific things at you. There are moments where something might fall over or there might be a sound effect or something like that. I honestly can't remember a jump scare. I've seen a couple of people say there were the odd few.
I think there was an odd one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember any. So there's nothing in it really what's shocking. A lot of the time, because at some points as well as being a puzzle game, it's a stealth game, and at points you will get chased as well. Sometimes you do that from the sort of first-person point of Sophie and the bear together, so you're running around in a first-person view. But then again, sometimes you might be trying to hide while you're controlling Sophie from the third-person view. So even getting caught then, you're watching it from a vantage point. It's not happening directly to you as such. So as horror games go, I definitely class it as mild and therefore a good entry point for people who normally can't cope with horror games, maybe. I'm definitely on your side with it not really feeling like a horror game as such.
No. I mean, I jump at anything, don't I? And if it doesn't affect me any, then you definitely know it's not.
Yeah.
It's not going to scare you. So you'd be fine to play this. Like I said, if you're a fan of Little Nightmares, it's very much in the vein of the style of that. There is an oldish man, right, who's trying to chase you, and there's also a grandmother, maybe. They're the ones that's trying to get you for this weird ritual or something they're trying to do, but
yeah,
your plan is to try and escape.
That's the entire premise, really.
That's it. That's it, really, yeah.
It took me 3.5 hours to finish, and that was with thoroughly exploring the spaces for 12 collectibles. I got 8, I missed 1 near the end, and then I missed 3 in a row, sort of in the first third of the game, which I'm a bit confused as to how I missed that many. I was being really, really thorough. I either wasn't observant at that point in the game, or maybe because I played it pre-release, maybe those items weren't there. And that's what I'm choosing to believe, because I just don't believe I missed them. So there's some collectibles, but in all honesty, I don't think it's enough for a replayability sort of factor. You know, there's just things to collect. I spent about 3.5 hours in it, being thorough and checking all the corners and everything. I've seen some people say it took 2.5 hours, but you never really go off the beaten path, do you? It's, you know, you finish a room and then you're either in one of the corridors or you're in a tunnel, and that will take you through to the next area where you solve the puzzle in the location it puts you in, then, and then you're off through into the next one. So it's not really, it's not a free-form exploration game. It's very much channeled through and funneled.
It definitely leads you the way to go, so you won't get lost in it.
Yeah. How long did it take you to finish it?
I believe, I was just thinking then, because when I looked on Steam, I think Main Fan had the exact same time as what I did for completing the game.
If you actually look on your save game, you might even find it shorter than that, because I think on Steam it listed me as just over 4, but my save game was 3 hours 25 at the end. Then again, I did go in and out trying to sort of like fine-tune the performance.
4.1 hours. Yeah, 4.1 hours.
Yeah. That's probably around about what Steam said for me, so you probably are actually around 3.5 on your save game, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was messing around, like you say, with performance. I know you had some issues that cleared up, right? But I've had loads of issues, mate, today.
Yeah, I mean, pre-release, there were definite performance problems, and I'd still say there is, although I have been back into it, post-release, and it's a lot more stable than when I played through it before it launched. But there's still issues. There's points where the frame rate will you'll see it either going to reprojection or maybe stutter slightly and whatever. But sometimes it just seems for no reason. It can do it in an empty room. It can do it in a busy room. I know Gary's played about an hour of this, but he's not finished it. It sometimes felt to him that it was doing it in sort of really foggy areas. So areas with lots of maybe transparency effects for the fog and whatever. Yeah, I'd agree with that. But sometimes you just be in a tunnel moving from one area to another. The frame rate would plummet.
That's where I did a lot. Yeah, in the tunnels.
Which absolutely feels like it's loading the next area in, and that's causing major dips. So in that case, at least it's doing it during a part of the game where it's not really important, where it just it's a connecting tunnel or a connecting corridor.
Yeah, so progressing the story type thing, you'll hear some of the characters talking, or you'll hear Sophie talking to the teddy bear and things, and that's when I had a lot of the issues today, where it would sort of stutter when I was going through those like corridors. But there's quite a lot of ambient fog. Is it ambient fog?
Yeah.
Or there's like cobwebs and things. And I wonder if that's like the transparency thing, like you say, or whether it is just loading in the next scene ready for you to go in. But there is definitely some performance issues with it.
It could even be a combination of the alpha transparency and loading is just too much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've played it on a 4070 Ti. Gary played it on a 5080, and we've all three of us seen the same thing. Main fan had noticed a few performance issues, I think, and then the other day he posted that he'd got to one point and he noticed a major performance drop at the point he'd got to. I'm not sure where it was, but he's playing on a 4090, and okay, it's early access, but I mean, you're playing on a 4090. That should not be happening.
And see, the thing with my system is I never know if it's my system or, because I'm running it on virtual desktop, whether that's something to do with it, whether that needs tweaking in another way. Because I was running it on medium on virtual desktop. I was running it on... I didn't knock it onto Epic. I dropped it on high, but I did run mine in reprojection because I can't hold a steady frame rate on it. But that's another thing. I don't know how it looks for you, but for me, it didn't look that great. And the dark areas and the things like that, but it could be the headset again.
Yeah. I mean, pre-launch, this is again where something's a bit strange is going off. Pre-launch, I played it on high on virtual desktop, and then the in-game settings. It didn't seem to make any difference whether I went from epic down to low. I still had the performance seemed exactly the same. I even changed it to medium on virtual desktop and tried it again, and the performance problems were the same all the time. Post-launch, playing it on medium on virtual desktop is now fairly stable on my machine. The small dips are still there, but the larger dips have gone. However, if I now put it on virtual desktop on high, I'm in permanent reprojection, which wasn't the case pre-launch. And it's like, I don't get what's going off. So, obviously the tweaking stuff and, they'll be looking at performance and everything else. But yeah, it's one of those things I think where I would say, if I had to make a recommendation, is if you're interested in it, I'd wait. I'd either wait for a few more patches, or this is supposed to be coming out on PSVR 2 and Quest as well.
I was thinking, though, while playing it, that this would be great as a Quest game. Did you, just by a question as well, did you play this using the touch controllers or did you play it using a gamepad?
I just played it using touch controllers. I did think at one point about just picking the gamepad up.
I tried to, and I couldn't get it to work.
Oh, right.
I could get some of the buttons to work, but I couldn't get the thumbsticks to work. So whether it's something you have to map yourself on the game, because there is custom mapping available for it, but no, I just used the touch controllers and it was fine.
It's one thing worth mentioning. This is basically a VR port of a flat game. And as far as we can see, I think they've been developed at the same time. Flat to VR took over basically the task of getting it ported into VR. And so on Steam, there is a flat version and there's the VR version. You do not get both if you buy one. You have to buy the correct one. It's something to do with the publishing, judging by what one of the developers said on a Steam post. So you don't get the flat version free with the VR version, unfortunately. I don't know what to say about it really, other than I thought the game was fine. I actually played it in maybe I think it was like 4 sessions. I played it in the space of one afternoon going into the evening, and I had an hour on it, followed by 2 more hour-long sessions. And then I jumped back in and I found I was nearly at the end, and it was less than half an hour, maybe 20 minutes on the final session. So I have played games before where I've played an hour, and after coming out of it, I've thought, oh no, I really don't want to go back into that. That wasn't the case with this. I wanted to go back in. I wanted to see what was happening. So that in itself, for how picky I can be, is probably a positive point. But I don't know whether it felt a bit short, and the end felt a bit flat for me. I don't think it really felt like it resolved much.
I think they'll change it a lot from what I've heard. Like I say, hearsay, Your Honour. Well, I said to you, I played it for an hour, and I said, does anything else happen? Because I'm bored.
You did on Discord, yeah.
But I said, I'll carry on playing it, and I must admit, it did get better. Now, I have seen people, I'm not going to say who this is because it's not fair on them, but I've seen reports of it being said as a fascinating and engaging horror game. Now, a couple of things there. I think the only words that I would take away from this as being correct would game. The fascinating and engaging thing, I don't know, because it just didn't grip me. As in, like you say, you're just doing things in a room, aren't you? You're opening a drawer. You're basically trying to either climb up to a hole in the wall to get through, or open a door, or pull a lever. And you can't miss these, by the way. They've got that custom yellow paint that seems to be on every single game to give you the idea of what you've got to do. And it was just plunking the teddy bear down, and where you put the teddy, you can't miss it because it's like on a pink blanket, right? Somewhere on a box or on a chair, and the outline shows up. So you just press the grip button, then you put the teddy bear down, and then you get Sophie to run around, solve the puzzle. Like Roger says, move on to the next room, etc., etc., do it again. But Further on, I did actually quite like some of the puzzles that were taking a while. There's one involving keys that I quite liked, that you needed to get out of a room. And the things I was slightly off-put by, motion sickness-wise, and it does say on the game, be aware some scenes may cause motion sickness.
I was wondering about this. The chase sequences?
Exactly, yeah. It didn't feel like it was perfect in both eyes. As soon as they started happening, I don't know if it was rendering correctly in the left eye. I kind of got an idea of how Sophie must have felt because it felt some like weird cross-eyed effect. I thought something doesn't quite add up here, but no, I checked the frame rate, that's fine. So whether it's some sort of rendering problem, but it's only when, because it's different, the chase sequences, it's either you running as in forward motion, and you're running with a teddy bear in your hands, so it's just like a normal first person.
Yeah, it goes full on Crash Bandicoot, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that. So you've got somebody chasing you, and you've got to keep dodging a few obstacles and try and get out of the way. And it's those ones that I struggled with.
Yeah, I did wonder if you would. As soon as I saw it, my first thought was, uh-oh. I thought, I wonder what Lee's going to, say to this part. But yeah, the bit where you first messaged me on Discord, and because you said you'd got stuck on one part, and was it? I did explain the part where I thought you'd got stuck. Was it that?
No, that helped me about 2 hours later.
Oh, right.
Because I was nowhere near that. I was on the very first part, and this is the bit that I spoke to you before, and I said, I think this bit glitched out for me.
All right.
Your teddy bear gets powers. I can't remember how exactly, but you can look at objects, and then you press trigger, and it will like break a lever or snap a rope or things like that. And the very first one is you've got a couple of gates you come to. It said, make sure the eye is open, and then it's showing you to press the trigger on the controller. And I didn't have this. There is a little eye icon that appears, and it sort of like opens up as you get closer to where you're supposed to look. That wasn't there for me. So I was like, where's this? What does it mean by eye? It wasn't showing up at all. So I quit the game. But when I loaded back in, it was there straight away. I looked at it, opened it, went straight through.
Oh, right. Okay.
If that could be a little bug.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Then I knew, I've got to make sure this eyeball thing comes up. But yeah, the puzzle that you're talking about, I realised when I couldn't see something, not quite, I was like, this is a bit weird. Why can't I see it? Oh, I've got to go into a certain area and then do it. And I thought, this is what Roger on about.
I lost a good 5 minutes there thinking it was glitched. Because you're looking, you can see something you need to use your teddy bear power to destroy. And it was just flashing. So it flashes sort of pinky purple, doesn't it? But it was glitching on and off. And the problem was I was just literally stood in the wrong place. But because it showed you it from the point I was stood at, it made it look like it was a bug. And I was convinced I was in the right spot in order to do it, and that the game wasn't working. And it wasn't. It was just that I was actually in the wrong place in the room.
Yeah, you have to get Sophie to pick you up and take you to a different area and then do it, which is something that I didn't even realise. I think that's when I realised you could actually lift the teddy bear up and down by pressing up on your thumbstick.
Yeah, she does actually say at one point, but I suppose if you miss the prompt, it might be at a disadvantage. Going back to a point which I got totally sidetracked. Because this game is basically a port of a flat game, there's no actual motion controls as such. While you're wandering around as Sophie holding the bear, she's got both her arms sort of clenching the bear to her chest, and then you're looking through that, and you're basically just using the joystick to walk about. You've got no sort of VR arms, so to speak. And then when you put the bear down, obviously using the joypad to control her from a third-person view. But it's something that never really occurred to me. The only sort of thing I did think was, if you look down, you can see you've got two floating little almost points of light that represent where your controllers are. They might as well get rid of those. There's no point because you don't actually use your arms. And I know some people might say, well, that's not a proper VR game. And it's like, I don't subscribe to that. This whole thing is it's got to be motion controlled to be a VR game. That's rubbish. But it never occurred to me that I wasn't using motion controllers really, because while you're interacting with stuff, you're doing it in a Moss-style way, aren't you? You're controlling somebody from a third person.
Yeah. And
that's the main control method while you're solving the puzzles. So, yeah, it's a non-issue for me. It's one of those possibly a rare example, but it is not a problem.
Did it throw you a little bit when you were the teddy bear, though? Because when you are the teddy bear, I was like trying to look round. It's like, let's just look around that corner and you can't.
Yeah.
Because you can't move your head because you're a teddy bear, and it's sort of.
It's like, I think it puts like a fur effect at the edge of your vision if you try and turn left or right. Yeah, not good. Yeah, I didn't like that at all. it became annoying, especially because at points, sometimes you're looking sort of across the room, and you'd have to get Sophie up onto the same level where she'd put the bear up onto, and then pick him up from the side. And there were a couple of points where you could even barely see her when you guided her next to you to pick it up, and because you couldn't see in that direction properly.
Yeah, there's some tweaking needs to be done with that. I got stuck on a few angles and things as well where it was sort of glitching a little bit, and like you say, sometimes you can lose track of Sophie. But did I enjoy the game? Yeah, I think so. That's a great review, isn't it? Yeah. Put that on the box.
I was looking around at a few reviews, and I think VR Realms review, I think he gave it a 7 out of 10. And if you take a 7 out of 10 as an average, which always annoys me because I think 5 out of 10 should be an average, but 7 out of 10 always seems to be an average score, a score for an average game rather. And yeah, I think that's fair. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything particularly bad about it. There's just nothing particularly great either. The price-wise, it's 21 quid on Steam, $25, I believe. It's hard to recommend, but I don't think it's a bad game either. It's, it's fair to middling.
No, it's not the worst thing I've played. I've completed it. I thought I want to play it through and complete it. A lot of it's very repetitive, though. So if that's not your thing, then perhaps this won't be for you. But I quite like the Little Nightmares vibe to it, and I like the aesthetic and how it looked. It may be a little disorientating when you first start because everything's massive. I don't know, because then you've got the perspective of when like Sophie's running to you and she's massive because you're a tiny teddy bear. So some of them things are a bit jarring. But
yeah, that's the thing about it as well. The scale, I actually liked the scale because you're looking at it through the eyes of a small bear who's obviously got a very small IPD. The world seems massive. Even Sophie, even little girl, seems huge, and I liked that. I did like that about it.
That could be why I was complaining to you about the perspective, saying why does everything look so huge? I don't understand because it's even weird for Sophie, but because you're looking at it through the eyes of a teddy bear. So yeah,
exactly. Give it a try if you think you might like it. That's that, I think.
Thanks everyone for listening to us for our quick 5-minute chat about the game again, Rog. That has lasted 30 minutes.
Yeah, we were gonna. Does this mean I've got to go and grab 30 minutes of footage now?
You have to loop it. I think we spoke about the same thing about 3 or 4 times, though. So, we could edit it down, I suppose. But yeah, hopefully we might get a few more of these videos out over the summertime because we are taking a break from the podcast, as we said last time. And maybe I'll do a Ghost Time video, or there's 5 or Mars one that Rog really likes too. Maybe I'll do a video on that.
Go check out Gary's channel, Immersed Robot, as he's putting out content on his channel as well.
And he's just got the Pimax Super, so go check out what he thinks about that. And hopefully maybe me and Ross will get to try it at some point before he has to send it back.
Right. Cheers, everyone.
Take care.